Okay, dude. Hey, listen.
Yes, sir.
How about this time you announce her? Okay.
No.
Please.
How about
I'm
that?
begging you. I'm begging you.
A lot's happened since yesterday!
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of A Lot's Happened Since Yesterday. My name is Ralph.
I'm Cody, and with us today is somebody from our past in a long time. Actually, it's kind of crazy because I didn't get a chance to meet you because I joined Serpent like right after the last show you guys played, and then we kind of just did this on our own time. So it's funny,
Like literally right after.
like literally, no
in
joke,
the back
literally.
alley. Like he was throwing something away, and I just noticed that he had nice guitar fingers. Anyways,
I have great hands. That's what they say. I have great hands.
That's a great reason to recruit somebody for a band. So.
I have that magnetism. He just walks by and goes, "Hey, dude, you look like you might play guitar. Do you?" And I was like, "Nah, but I'll learn." We have.
And here you guys are.
and that's how it happened, folks.
Like I said, a lot's happened since yesterday. You never know. But
This is true.
we have Tash Cox with us. Tash, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Don't lie, Tosh. Don't lie to make friends. We know you're not doing well. You just told us before we started this. You said, this is horrible. I hate it. Life sucks. No, I'm just kidding. No, shit. We're just playing. No, me and Tosh go way back. So you got to understand that, even though we haven't talked in a long time, because that happens, you know what I mean? People go and they move on and they do their things. But there was a point of time where both her band, Mankind Is Obsolete, and my band, Serpent Underground, were actually doing a lot of stuff. We were up and coming, as they say. And we actually, remember when we did that show in Connecticut at the Webster Theater?
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah.
Oh my God.
What was that called again? It was something like
It was Gothstock.
Gothstock.
It was Gothstock.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
see,
cool,
I came in
though.
just after that. I come in, they're like, "Dude, we play Gothstock." I mean, dude, no joke.
It was really cool. I mean,
It was
to have those many bands come all together. Combichrist was headlining. Genitortures was there.
Genitortures.
And we were just starting out, so we were, of course, like totally fanboying and fangirling out. I'm like, oh my gosh, get to play with these amazing bands. Plus, I mean, the hang was really awesome. I love festivals for that reason because, it's like a catch up with all the families. So
Yeah, I remember we had all the hotel rooms and they were all like close to each other.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
We were like going back and forth. And I was just like walking around with a drink going, hey, what's going on? Can I come party in you guys' room? And you guys had like a ton of people in your room. I was like, whoa.
I blame Gordon.
No, but you guys were really cool with your fans. All the time, you guys were really cool with the fans. And one thing I got to say about Mankind Is Obsolete is I always thought you guys were going to be huge. I always, okay, they have everything. You know what I mean? You're a fantastic front person. You're amazing. You know what I mean? You bring, some people just can't bring it. You know what I mean? Live, they can take care of the business in the studio, but you could do both. You could capture the audience while you were performing. You had a lot of energy, and everybody had a great look, and you guys had a great sound. The songwriting was on par, so it was just like, okay, these guys are going places. You know what I mean? So, and at that time too, female-fronted bands were starting to get more and more popular. You know what I mean? So I figured you guys were going to be like, I'm gonna be like, hey, remember me? And you're like crushing me with your foot, you know what I mean? You're like high heels on, you're sticking one in my eye, you know what I mean?
Yeah, take that, Ralph.
Gothstock who?
Yeah, what?
No, but seriously, you guys were doing great, and we were stoked to be playing shows with you guys, and we had a lot of the same fans. It was really cool. Raven, remember Raven? She was all about it.
Yes.
So, that was cool. Those were great times, fun times. And that is why you're here, Tosh, because we followed you. We've noticed that you've never stopped. You're still always constantly putting on great content. And I just want to be able to shine the light on people like you. You know what I mean? Maybe people that are not getting as much attention, you know what I mean? By whatever the powers that be. because I think you guys have it. I think you guys have always had it. I think you guys always will. You especially, you're a great front woman, and I think that you have this energy and a great voice, and you have the whole package. So that's why you're here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how things got started. Let's talk about, because a lot has happened since yesterday. So,
Yes.
so first of all, I want to do a little deep dive into who Tash is. Where you said you're from Texas.
Mhm.
Tell us, give us the origins.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I grew up in West Texas. I came from a multicultural home. So I'm half Thai and half Irish. And then moved out to California to, pursue music. So, it's
Who
kind of
got you in? Who got you into the music? Who inspired you the most?
well, I started at a really young age. Like my parents started me on piano lessons when I was 2 because they heard me singing in tune when I was 9 months old in church.
wow.
Oh, wow.
And I was really fortunate to have parents that really cultivated what they considered to be an early talent. Really lucky in that way. So they really tried to nurture that. So I was writing songs when I was like, little Tosh, little silly songs like about picking cherries off the cherry bushes and
Tosh 1.0 at that
yes,
point.
yes. Yeah. So classical music is my background.
Wow.
I
That's
grew up
cool.
doing like competitions and stuff like that, and helped friends get into music school because I was accompanying them on the piano. And the judges were like, "Well, what are you trying out?" And I'm like, I don't know.
You're like, try it out. I already passed.
No.
It's like when you're at the karaoke bar, and everybody's like, "Hey, dude, are you gonna sing?" And you're like, "That's what I do, man." Now go away.
Oh my
Go fetch me a drink.
Oh my gosh. No, it's just I think I was always like more drawn to like original music, and specifically like darker and heavier music. That's really what spoke to my little black soul.
Well, I was gonna ask you who influenced you into that dark music, because I think we have that in common. You like Trent Reznor at all? I mean, are you a
Well,
fan?
it's funny. Yeah, that's the answer. It was
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm like, is he gonna get it? Oh yeah, he got it.
Bonus round
Yeah.
right there,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
What do I win?
Ding ding ding.
I'll send you a cookie, brother. A new podcast. Yeah. Yeah, Ralph's
Yes.
like, I am now the only host. I know all.
I call Cody whenever I get in trouble. "Hey, dude, what's the answer to this again?" He's all, "I hate you." Anyways, what were we saying? Sorry.
Early
Reznor.
influence. Yes.
So Trent was one of them. Awesome.
Yeah, first time I heard 9 Inch Nails, I was like, what is this? It sounds like freedom. It sounds
Yeah.
like somebody that's just not afraid to express themselves. And
Yeah.
that's really what drew me in. Got into like bands like Tool. I loved the expansiveness. And then I had, friends introduce me to like Pink Floyd and more things like that, where I'm like, wow, it can be like really musical. And dare I say a little proggy. But something that's really expressive and feels raw and honest. And so that's kind of what I've, aimed for in my own songwriting. Even if it's like jazz stuff, or classically tinged stuff, is something that just feels raw and honest.
It's kind
Well,
of interesting though, because you got started with classical,
Mhm.
and we were talking to CJ from Metal Motivation, and he was making the comment that metal guys, especially any kind of metal, but if you look at Trent, and he did all of that stuff himself, so there is way more artistic. What am I trying to say? Like, my brain's not working today for some reason. Let me think. Classical has so much thought behind it. You got to, there's so much writing, and all of the key changes and all the stuff they do. And when you're getting into 9 Inch Nails, that dude did all of that the same way, but just with current technology. He had to arrange it all himself. It had to come from his own brain. He didn't have normally, as I'm not mistaken, right? He did his own things. Right, he recorded his own stuff, right?
He worked with other producers, I believe.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Yeah, he works with other people too.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it was the same thing as almost like having a team, a band, or whatever you want to call it. I think it was a, you know, back and forth, like, hey, so what do we do about this? I don't know if you ever listened to the demo that they released. I think they released a demo publicly of the one before Pretty Hate Machine. And it was a lot of the material that was going on Pretty Hate Machine, which was their first major release. And I heard some of it, and it was definitely more 80s sounding. So you could tell they were going from, they were making the transition of going from the 80s to the 90s. And they wanted to bring in something new, something that was different, something that grabbed people. And that's they accomplished it, if you ask me.
Oh, see, I thought for some reason, I thought Trent like wrote and recorded all that first album.
I'm sure he did, but they went in and they tweaked it. Oh. It's like when you go in and you record an album with a producer, and then he comes in and he has these ideas to add to it. And then everything becomes this, let's massage it. Let's massage the mix. Let's add to the production value. And before you know it, you have this masterpiece. Yeah. You know,
but the parallels are still there with the classical, because there is way more thought behind it than just a wall of sound, I guess is what I was trying to get to through all that jumbleness of talk.
Well, Tosh, you know more about that than anybody, because you play several instruments, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been writing for a long time, and I noticed you got a piano behind you. So, you know, it's once you start doing that, because I'm not by any means, shape, or form a pianist, or even really like a professional level synthesizer guy or keyboardist, whatever you call it. But I've dabbled with it, and I love to write on them. And there was a time when I was really into it, and I thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to be a keyboard player in a band. And then one day I realized, no, this is not the road that I'm meant to go down. So, but at the same time, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it brings so much to the music, and it's just like having an orchestra behind you. That's, you know, in a synthesizer, in a small package, you know what I mean? It's not quite the same, but it gets damn close. And nowadays we live in the electronic sound, you know what I mean? I think all of that is coming back. So Mankind Is Obsolete, that sound was very strong within the band. So what do you think? Maybe a best of album or something?
Well, we're definitely kind of in a place of moving forward. I think we've always been that way. Like, we've always thought like, well, how can we evolve? How can we one up ourselves, I guess, you know, so we set bars for ourselves. So I think, I mean, best of album sounds like a really cool idea. We haven't thought about that, but I think we definitely want to veer towards writing new material and stuff. So,
well, to be honest with you, Cody and I, you know, Cody came into Serpent Underground later on. And the band had already been around for several years, but he brought something new to the table, obviously, and he and I think a lot alike. So we've been thinking around about taking some of the best songs that band created, and maybe, you know, obviously going into the studio with some of the producers I've met over the last few years that I think are top notch, and just really giving those songs justice, you know what I mean? Because I don't think Serpent Underground really got justice when it came to our recordings, most of them anyways. But I would love to see something like that. We had a few songs that a lot of people gravitated towards, and I believe that if we had better production, they would have done much better. You know what I mean? So I think that's just with you guys. You guys had a lot of great production, but you didn't have the biggest push behind you. And it was like us. We were trying to get a label to just go, come on, run with these guys. They got something, you know. And I know you know the feeling of that. What was your experience? I know you guys talked to a lot of labels. I know that you guys were hot at one point, and they were like, yeah. Tell us some,
like they
tell
were
us
like,
some
yeah.
Yeah. They're like going creeping like this. Yeah.
You were going so good, and then I was waiting for after and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit, now's the time. Got it.
What a bonus. Anyway, but no, seriously though, I want to hear some stories. Give me some juice. Give me some come on.
Yeah, so our experiences that we had, what it really came down to is that, in our core, we've always been a DIY band.
Mhm.
Like, we've always been self-produced, except there was an album that we actually worked with a really incredible producer, Sylvia Massey, who had produced like Tool and System of a Down. She was incredible. But for the most part, like, we produced our own albums. We produced our own art. We did our own tours. And so it kind of came down to like whether or not a label could do something for us that we weren't already doing ourselves without trying to take something from us. And there's like a quid pro quo when you sign on to a label. And it's a matter of figuring out if it's the right team that can actually, you know, work with you and is on the same page and, can do for you what you can't do for yourself. And we never did really encounter that situation,
Mhm.
because we were already on our own track. And, I mean, being able to do, the amount of touring that we did on our own, you know, a lot of friends that we had that were on labels weren't even touring like that.
Right.
So it really came down to the fact that the band was willing to do it. Like, we all had members that were all on the same page, and we were like, with or without label, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And we've still kept that same mentality, with all of our other projects.
That's
You
so
know,
huge, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
because to get just multiple people to agree to something that's a big commitment, man.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
because it was the same thing with Serpent. When me and Ralph started pushing really hard, we never had a full band of members that were like, I'll drop and go anytime. It was always
hmm
like, if the time is right or if it makes sense or something like that. To have your entire crew go, fuck yes, let's do this,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's truly a gift to be able to work with an entire group and we've all been in it this whole time, who has been willing to make sacrifices, who have been willing to say, yes, tour for a year, let's do it, let's put our stuff in storage, let's let go of our jobs and where we live, and let's do this. I mean,
Mm.
That's
we've
so
done that.
cool. That's
I
so
know.
cool, dude.
Yeah, I respect that so much about you guys because you did it. And the whole time I was thinking, they're doing it. They're doing what I can't get other people that I'm working with to do. So, that was the hard part. It's like, okay, so here we are. We've got people that are interested in us and want to work with us on some level or another. At some point we get to the point where we've gotten the right exposure to the right people, and we get an offer and it's like we can't pull the trigger on it because everybody's like, well, what about this?
hmm
It's got to be the right thing, and I'm just like, the right thing's never gonna come, dude. It's never gonna
Exactly.
come that way, not the way you're thinking it's gonna come. You're thinking you're gonna get this fat paycheck that's gonna, you know what I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
carry you
Yeah.
through.
Yes.
Everything's
Yes.
gonna be sweet. It's gonna be a sweet ride, the whole time you're gonna be drinking champagne and smoking cigars. But it doesn't work
It's
that way,
not like
does it,
that.
Tosh?
It's not like
No,
that.
it's
No,
not
it's
like
not.
that.
Even with friends that I've had on labels, that is not how that works. And,
No.
if anything that life has taught me, it's been that, like, you make your own life. I mean, I haven't been one of those people that have had things handed to me. And I'm grateful for that because it makes me really grateful when good things happen. But I've learned that, like, if you want something, you have to be willing to work for it, and you have to be willing to just be like, I'm doing it.
Right.
There can be a million excuses to say, like, why something isn't possible. But what it really ultimately comes down to is like, well, how do you make it possible if that's what you want to do?
Right.
And ultimately, you have to be willing to make sacrifices, major sacrifices, not just little sacrifices, right? You have to
Oh
make
yeah.
some major ones. I mean, can you share with us some of the sacrifices that you actually had to make in order to do what you did? Because
Yeah,
you guys went
absolutely.
full blown.
Well, the biggest sacrifice that I've made is not being able to spend time with my loved ones the way I would love to. I'm in California, they're in Texas. I mean, obviously this year, because of the COVID situation, it hasn't been possible for me to travel to be with them. But, while I have, friends that have had, like, quote unquote, more normal lives, and it's easier for them to carve out time, like that. It's, almost all of my free time goes to my craft,
Right.
whether it's working on, actually becoming a better vocalist or songwriter, or putting the work together, or, performing, like whatever it happens to be. Like it's a very time consuming, you know, it's a time consuming practice.
Right.
And I really think you have to love it. Like you really, really have to love it, as you guys know, to stay committed to it.
Yeah, because all of the
yeah.
crap you go through too. You know, you get an offer that falls through, or you get somebody who just tries to rob you because they think you're a dumb band or something. If you don't love it, you're not gonna make it, because that kind of crap gets old real quick.
Oh yeah.
And all you want to do is play some songs on a stage, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's interesting. We played a show one time with this band who had been a stadium band, and we opened up for them at this like kind of a dive place in Vegas, and they had scaled down to like a little van, and they were talking to me, and it was such an inspiration early on about how they still loved it. Like they weren't touring in the fancy tour bus in front of the crowds, but they were still doing it because they just love the music. They love getting to play together. And I was like, yes, I totally get it. You know, that's totally me. And you know, we've had those shows, like we have some really amazing ones. We're like, this is amazing. And then sometimes, you know, it's just like, well, there's the sound guy. Hey, sound guy.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Jim. Good job, brother. Appreciate it, man. You make it sound great.
The worst part is when you're only playing for the sound guy and the bartenders. You know what I mean? And but you hate all of them.
Yeah, and even the bartenders over there doing dishes.
As soon as you walk into as soon as you walk into the dive bar, you know, there's this bartender and he's like checking out your old lady, you know what I mean? Washing dishes, giving you the eye, you know what I mean? And then the sound guy's all, yeah, I'm gonna make you sound really good tonight. And it's nothing but feedback the whole time. I've got this microphone in my hand and I'm thinking, if I could sharpen this with my teeth just enough, I could chuck this at this guy and take him out. That has been my experience. So,
look, I knew you singers had animosity towards sound guys, but damn. You're like, I'm gonna stab this dude.
It's an easy rule, bro. Make me sound good. You know what I mean? No, but yeah, that had to be so much fun though. You guys went, you did it. You just said, you know what? You threw caution to the wind. You said, screw it. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, and we're gonna see where it takes us. And that's an amazing journey. And it's been an amazing journey, hasn't it? Because to this day, I'm still excited about music, like what we're talking about right now. I'm still excited about it. Me and Cody are talking about doing stuff, and you know, I've got other musicians that approach me, and it's so freaking cool when your peers approach you and say, you know what? Which by the way, I'd like to talk to you about something at some point. So. Well, I have a song idea. I want to run it by you. But anyways, let's talk about the ALHSY project. What exactly is the ALHSY project?
Well, so after the year-long Mankind tour, Gordon and Scott and I, Gordon's the bassist and Scott is the guitarist. We had come up with a bunch of song ideas that really didn't fit in the Mankind realm. And it was a lot. I mean, the best way I can equate it to is just like, you know, the Maynard projects. Like he has his Perfect Circle, he has his Tool, he has his Pucifer. And so it's like, I feel like it's different faces of all of us, but it gives us a chance to kind of explore different sides of our voices. And so and then we recruited another singer, Sasha Travis, and the drummer Steve, and you know, we started creating songs for ALHSY. Well, during that time we actually ended up creating another project called ALHSY Underground, which is like a kind of a swing, like jazzy blues project.
Nice.
And then three of the guys formed like a punkabilly, like power trio punk band. And we were like, so these are a lot of the same players, but like, let's create a collective. And so we call it the ALHSY Project. And we collaborate with a lot of different artists under this umbrella. So we'll bring in like different performance artists, and you know, we've made a lot of multimedia creations from that project.
Well, that's really cool. Is there like a game plan that you have for the future for it? You
Oh,
do?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've already projected
Yes.
where this is going. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Don't you just love plotting? Isn't plotting just the funnest?
Oh yeah.
I guess it's the best part of it, isn't it?
Yes.
Because that's when you're like going back and forth with your people, your tribe, so to speak, and you're just like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I need you to run up the middle over here and then button hook. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and then the plotting, there's no, when you're plotting, it's all gonna work. So you could go as
Yeah,
far
it's
as like,
all
we're gonna
gonna
play
work.
on the space
Yeah.
shuttle, and
No
everyone's
one
like,
can
yes, we
stop
are.
you. There's like armies coming at you, and you're just like, yeah, whatever. Let's rock. You know? But then
know.
you wake up and you're hungover. Okay, we're overdoing it.
No, it's great. We love throwing the clay on the table and just being like, okay,
That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
yeah, for sure. It's the trick is shaping that clay into something that works.
Right.
And figuring out how to get from point A to point B. So that's been also really fun for me is like kind of like going like, okay, we have all these really great ideas. Let's whittle it down and figure out like what we can actually make happen. Because we're definitely a group of doers. So, that's part of the fun for me at least is,
Right.
figuring out the logistics of all of it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Where did the name Alice come from?
Good question.
He always gets one at least.
I tried.
love it.
I tried.
Yay.
Wait, I kind of feel like that was implying that none of my questions have been good this show. Shit.
Oh.
No, actually, Cody runs this ship, man. I'm just a lowly, what do they call him, skipper or something? I don't know. He's the admiral. I feel like. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir. What do you mean to do, sir? No, Cody does a lot of the work.
Stand down.
And that's like content. Stand up. Yes, sir. At ease. Content creation is huge. And I'm sure you guys had to get into the business aspect of it. So I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go back to what you were talking about. Sorry. What were we talking about?
Oh,
How'd you come up with Alice? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Alice.
Derailed.
Yes, but we reeled it back in. So yes.
Sometimes I go off on a tangent.
It's okay. I was right there with you. Tangents are welcome. I was in Joshua Tree with Gordon and Scott. That's kind of like our go-to like camping, hiking place that we like.
Oh, so you guys actually go out there? Oh,
yeah, we
right.
go out there. It's a great place to dream. Like
Nice.
it's just, I love the quiet. I love the stars. I love the hiking. And there's just nothing like being in nature and desert. The quiet, it's so inspiring. So we're puddled around a campfire and we had come up with all these songs and we were trying to think of like a way to describe how the music felt in one word. Cause we're like, okay, Mankind is Obsolete. We love that name, but it's really long.
Yeah.
One word. And Gordon came up with Alice because we were like, okay, this feels surreal. It feels like a journey. It's kind of like it plays with the mythos of Alice in Wonderland, like going through the looking glass, that sort of thing. And then we ended up making it with a 1, so AL1CE. Kind of like the idea of like going within and finding oneness. So yeah, that's
nice.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. I like it.
Yeah,
I dig it. Speaking of, because you have under the Alice project, you have all these different sounds and styles that you do, that you're playing with, and I think that's awesome. But there's another part that comes to making music or putting together a project, whether it's a band or just a music project, and that's the image. Mm-hmm. The look that you go for. Yes. And I wanted to talk to you about that because you've always had a really good look. And all the people that are in your band always followed that, right? That pattern. It's been uniform with you guys. And so is that something that you were like, this is something we need to do? Because you seem like you dabble in your image a lot. You said you were part Thai, right? Mm-hmm. So I noticed that a little bit of Thai influence in some of the look that you do. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
I noticed that. I love it. It's a great look. It looks awesome.
You.
It's like a gothic-y type you know, Thai thing going on there, and a lot of other elements. So where'd you come up with that?
Well, for Mankind, it's been a kind of an organic growth, just experimenting, collaborating with different artists. We played a lot with Joseph Corsentino. He came up with a lot of our artwork. Really incredible artists. And then with Alice, actually, a lot of it has been with Sasha. She's incredible. She comes from a theater background, like I do. So we've always thought like theatrically. We've always thought in terms of cinema and trying to tell a story. And so we finally started settling into kind of a groove of what our current image is. And we like to collaborate as well with, you know, people that have like their own fashion line. Because I think it's really great when you get to support other artists doing what they do best so that you can focus on what you do best. And so, yeah, and then just, you know, trying to think about the overarching story that we've been trying to tell, specifically with Alice. With Alice Underground, we kind of took elements of that because we play around with specific colors. So the red and black thing. So we took like elements of that with Alice Underground and kind of did a play on that with, so that you could kind of see like, this is when you go through the looking glass and it's in a sort of film noir kind of vibe. Because we like to play with sort of the 40s with Alice Underground. So
that's fun. That's nice. I like that a lot. Was Tool kind of an influence on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
okay. Because I noticed they do a little bit of that, and they do the artistic side of what they do in their videos. A lot of people think it's really weird, but it's actually quite artistic.
Have you been to a Tool concert?
You know, I have not.
Okay. When I went, I've seen both Tool and I saw the Roger Waters rendition of The Wall. And what I loved so much about those performances was that it took you on a journey. And so that's kind of been a goal of ours, is to be able to take our audiences on journeys when they come and step into our world. So,
so that is the prog aspect, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
I love that kind of crap, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like the concept albums and the, you know, let the videos tell the story that you're trying to convey, all of that stuff.
Has Alice put out a lot of video content?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So our last album, The 13th Hour, we set this goal that we were going to put out a new song, new art, and new music video every full moon. And we did it. We did it for 14 months.
Holy crap!
And that was quite an adventure because we were touring at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And with all the content, we ended up putting together our first full-length feature film.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What's it called?
The 13th Hour.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, you know, Sasha is a filmmaker, so she was directing and editing, producing. We teamed up with this incredible cinematographer, Carl Garcia, and we consider him part of our group too. Yeah, we were constantly shooting, recording, playing. It was just a flurry for a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're still doing that. Yes.
All of that content is available where? On YouTube?
On YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, YouTube, also our Facebook. But yeah, you can just go to our YouTube channel and check it all out. Yeah, and then we're not taking that same approach for this next album, but we're still putting out music videos. We're just doing things a little more strategically this time. So
which is the most active project that you have? Is it Alice, Mankind Is Obsolete? Is it Alice? It's Alice. Okay. Yeah. So where does Mankind Is Obsolete stand at this point for you guys?
So it really depends on John's schedule. He got really, really busy as a touring drummer. So he did, I think, like several years of touring with IMX, and he's toured with a lot of other artists as well. So it's a matter of squeezing John in between his tours. So this last year was great because, you know, it was possible to do some of our virtual shows with John since he was more on a hiatus. So, yeah.
So how has the COVID-19 affected you personally, Tash?
Well, like everybody that I know, it's affected me on a lot of levels. I've lost people personally to COVID. I lost somebody this past week, a family friend.
My condolences.
Thank you. it's strange to be able to say that so cavalierly because the first person that I knew that I lost, which was back in April, it hit me so much harder. And then as time has gone, you know, forward, it's like I find out something else, you know, it's like, oh, here's something else to deal with, or here's something else that somebody that I care about is dealing with, and here's what the world is dealing with. And so, I mean, I feel like we're all in this crazy marathon right now, all of us, like, you know, and I'm trying not to let it numb me out or harden me or anything like that. I think it's just like we're all kind of in this survival mode. And if anything, it's made me a lot more grateful. It's been made me grateful for the people who I'm currently connected with. I'm grateful for the community. I'm grateful for my loved ones. I'm grateful, you know, to be able to wake up in a day and to have my own lungs and to breathe and to be like, you know, I recognize that there's people that I love that are suffering, and I might be suffering, but like, you know, I don't take anything for granted. And so, I mean, I think if anything as well, it's also affected the way that we've been able to do music. We canceled a bunch of tours this past year. We were scheduled for 4 tours in 2020.
Oh, wow.
And that would have even taken us to Mexico and Canada. Like they were all scheduled. And we pivoted and ended up making them virtual. So it kept us really busy, and it kept us connected to our community, and it was a really beautiful experience. And you know, it was different, you know, playing to an empty room, totally empty this time.
Yeah, not even Jim the bartender. Damn
Yes.
it, Jim.
Yeah. I know. There was like a cardboard cutout of the bartender.
He was probably watching it, you know, via the computer, doing the dishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like if anything for me, it's I found myself having much more real conversations with people, like really honest conversations. Because I mean, I think all of us have had to face life and death in some form or fashion, whether it's losing jobs or loved ones or whatever. And so I love the honest conversations that have come out of it.
Well, this whole situation seems surreal, doesn't it? I mean, it's just like all of a sudden it's like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we just came into the year.
Yeah.
It was March when everything started coming out about the COVID. And, you know, it's like, dude. Yeah. Fresh out the box. Here we go. You know, oh, 2019 sucked. 2020 is going to be much better. Woohoo!
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not doing that this year. I'm not doing that this year. I have no expectations of 2020.
What do they call it? Don't jinx it. You know what I mean? No, for sure. But there's so much crazy shit going on. I mean, what do you think about this whole thing that happened recently at the Capitol? You know what I mean? It's just crazy stuff. Yeah, there's just so much crazy chaos going on.
That ain't a what the fuck moment, dude. Like, who thought that was gonna change anything? Like, I'm gonna go and break some shit and piss people off, and they're gonna be like, you know what? I see your point now. We'll go ahead and just we'll wrap this thing up now. Good job.
And it's no joke, because even though it's not, you know, as much of a threat as, well, not now anyway. And when I say that, believe me, there is a little bit of concern in the back of my mind as to how far this is going to go. You know what I mean? But right now, the COVID is more of a threat.
Right.
However, this could far supersede the COVID if it goes too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is my concern, because it is like, I don't know, Mankind is Obsolete. That's always been such an interesting name. What exactly did that mean? Now that we're talking about mankind in general.
Well, it's funny that you should ask that, because we were inspired by 9/11. And
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. John and I were going to music school together. We went to Musicians Institute, and 9/11 happened, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, and like, we're like, let's talk about what just happened. And like, Mankind is Obsolete is a name of what we saw could happen to mankind if we continue going down a certain track. And that happened during 9/11. So it's, yeah, seeing everything that happened really brought up a lot of the similar feelings that I think I felt when 9/11 happened. And, where I feel like, gosh, I think we can all relate to this, but that moment in your life where you're in a place where you're like, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, how am I here? And I think that's what we're all of us, like across the board, are asking ourselves, like, how do we actually get to this point? And what do we do with this?
Yeah. Well, I sense that you're a spiritual person based on your lyrics and a lot of the visuals used in the videos you guys do. So what's your viewpoint on all of this as a spiritual person? I mean, where do you stand? And also you have a, Thai background. I don't know if they practice Buddhism or what is it that they practice, but I figured they probably do. My wife practiced Buddhism. So I know where she's coming from on this, but even she doesn't know what the hell's going on. She's like, what is going on? Is the universe angry at us or what? So I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, it's interesting because so I'm half Thai and half my family is heavily Buddhist, and then I'm half Irish, but like Irish American, and that half is very Christian. So, I kind of grew up with very different points of view and very different like religious backgrounds. And, if anything, I learned how to grow up with a really open mind. I feel like there's a lot of really deep listening that needs to happen. I feel like a lot of healing needs to happen. And, when we reach these points of trauma in the world, and there's been so much like continual trauma. It hasn't just been like a singular, there's been some really big ones, that have happened, but like, and obviously this is a really big one, but like, I feel like, okay, and then the news continues and then there's more things. But, I do feel like there's a lot of shouting that's happening right now. And in all the shouting, I think people kind of forget like the listening part. There's a lot of viewpoints, there's a lot of things to say, and they're all valid. There's, when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, like, I don't know about you, but when I have a one-on-one conversation with anyone, no matter like if we have different backgrounds, like there's always something we can connect on. And so I feel like there's just a lot of like conversations and listening that need to happen. But not just like, here's the thing that I believe in,
Yeah. Well, a conversation is not one person just giving their point of view. It's sharing points of view and kind of really doing a deep dive into each other's points of views and going, well, why do you feel that way? What led you to that conclusion in life? Because I've had a lot of friends that are just like really smart bookworm guys, and they're just kind of like, I've read, they've read so many books and they know so many different theories and they're into science and stuff like that, but they can't relate to the human aspect of it. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Yeah, but what about this? You know what I mean? What about these little things that a lot of people who share like a Christian faith would call a miracle of life? You know what I mean? That stuff is all kind of missing from the scientific explanation. We have to fill that in because there's a gap there. And you don't want to keep that gap there because look what happens when you have a gap. Right now, our country is in complete turmoil because of a gap, a division. And I truly believe that it's time for us to stop talking at each other, like you said, and come together and have a conversation and go, look, I think we all kind of want the same things. You know? But we just have to find a way to come together on it and go, okay, you need your space over here. That's cool. We'll go over here and mind our own business. But if you ever need our help, we're here, and maybe hopefully that's vice versa. That's how it should be. Mankind shouldn't be obsolete. Mankind should be unified together, trying to make themselves better as a whole.
Because especially now, it's like less about having a conversation, more just about winning an argument.
Exactly.
I mean, at this point, I can't remember. I made the joke a while ago about, it's getting to the point now where you're afraid you're going to take a punch if you say you like pineapple on pizza because everybody's just, everybody's just locked and loaded to just win an argument rather than have a conversation. And, well, and Tosh, you said it about being an artist. You have to be solution oriented. You know, we can sit and bitch about the chaos and the crap that's going on in the country and all the stupidity, but that is going to do nothing to change it. You need to acknowledge it. You need to see it, but you also got to go, hey, we see it. We've acknowledged it. Where do we go next? And people don't want to go that far with it. They just want to go, stop. That's how I feel. I feel icky. Now I'm going to yell. Yeah. It's not the move. It's a bad look.
Yeah. And then in the end, who wins? Like, if you win an argument, do you really win? You know, I grew up being severely bullied for being different, you know, and my parents didn't have a lot of money. And so, you know, I went to a private school. I was on scholarship because I did well academically, but, you know, the rich kids beat up on the little poor kid. And, you know, I felt like maybe on some level they might have gotten some kind of, you know, I don't know, derived some kind of pleasure out of being like, oh, here's this person that we can, you know, we can feel right in some way. But in the end, like, somebody on the receiving end had to suffer for that, me.
Right.
But at the same time, I can now look at it compassionately, where I'm like, well, maybe that's how they were raised. Like, maybe they grew up in, you know, homes where that was okay. You know, I mean, you just never know where a person comes from, you know, until you actually get to know them. And I mean, how can you know so many people all at once?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, I mean, I am definitely very much into the idea of unity and peace, and everybody individually finding what that means for them. Because what that means for me is obviously going to mean something different for you, Cody, and something different for, you know, Ralph, and something different for whoever is watching this. Like, everybody has their own idea of what freedom and peace feels like for them. But I think it's important to ask yourself that question, like, how do I find that within myself? And then, is it in my power to help provide that for other people? You know, and to try to do my part. You know, one of the things I loved about doing our virtual tours is that it helps enable other artists to have a platform. We helped other artists with their, you know, some of their technical stuff, because they had difficulty in some of the technical aspects. And so it was really gratifying for me to be able to put shows together, and to help out other artists. And we helped out other artists in all parts of the world. Mankind, actually, we had toured to Algeria and Uzbekistan before, working. Yeah, it was really cool. So the State Department has this. The State Department has a program that bridges worlds through art and music. And so we were asked back in 2012 to go to Algeria, and we taught workshops and we performed. And, you know, it really became apparent to me that music was a universal language. It's a way to connect to people. Sometimes, if, you know, people had very different views there. Sometimes, you know, we didn't really speak in words, but when we played music together, it was like, yes, we were on the same page. Like, you feel this freedom, at least for me, in music. You know, there's just nothing like it. There's this beautiful human connection that happens.
Well, you're right. All those walls do go away because you're just you're there for the art and there for that experience rather than what you believe, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I mean, sure, some of your songs can be about that. Like, some of your songs can be like tinged in that, but like, it's the fact that you're there expressing something that you believe in. Other people can appreciate that, and vice versa. Like, you can appreciate what they have to say as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a time and a place for everything, right? There's a time and a place for anger. Like, look at Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a very talented, amazing band, but they're angry.
Yeah.
And they want us all to know about it for the right reason.
Yeah.
But they're sharing it with the world, and people are actually getting a takeaway from it. Their souls are connecting with that message. You know what I mean? And on the other side of it, look at Bob Marley. I mean, he was writing the same kind of songs as Rage Against the Machine for the most part, except for his play on it was a little bit more about the love aspect. You know what I mean? And taking it all in stride, you know. I love Bob Marley. You know what I mean? So
and they both have their places, because sometimes you just want to kick back and watch TV and enjoy the day, and sometimes you want to punch a hole in the wall. And there's soundtracks for both, you know.
You know, and you can sit back and you can listen to Bob Marley and go, yeah, man, I can appreciate that perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're just chilled, you're relaxed. And then you're listening to Rage Against the Machine. You're like, fuck all that shit, man. I'm with you. You know what I mean? Let's go get them, you know? So it's a different feel altogether. I'd rather have the Bob Marley feel most of the time instead of the Rage feel. But still, we kind of need both of those, don't we? We need the darkness to see the light, and the light to control our darkness. You know what I mean?
Got to have the balance, brother.
Yeah, you got to have that balance. And that's really what it's all about. So,
well, we don't have that right now. You wonder why people are getting pissed off. We can't go outside. We can't play shows. I mean, my God, I know every one of us right now are going out of our minds. We can't take a stage anywhere. Go, at the very least, go to a club and go just hang out and go to a show. We can't do that. I mean, everybody's pissed off. You know, I think half the guys who went to that Senate just wanted to go and get out and give somebody a hug. They're like, is somebody going to shake my hand? Fuck it. I'll go to jail.
I heard that like five people died.
Yeah.
Yeah. That incident.
Something like that.
So it really isn't. When I first saw it, I was like, this has got to be some made up shit. You know what I mean? They had to put somebody up to this. And these are actors that are paid or some shit like that. I mean, it just looked weird. It was just like, there's these guys and one guy's wearing like horns. I'm like, what the? And then.
Consequently, I'm not going to lie. I kind of wanted it to be fake. Like, who wants to see this shit? Yeah. Like, you don't want this.
And how does it happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what's really difficult too is, you know, the multiple sides of the stories.
Right.
You know, I mean, for people to reach that point that they're willing to go that far, why? I mean, that's, I think the question that a lot of people are asking is what made them go to that point?
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. Because that's a drastic measure. And that was a lot of people willing to do it. And I'm sure, I mean, mob mentality being what it is, once everybody gets going, it goes. But, I mean, under the current circumstances, who would go, yeah, we got an outbreak, we have this, we have that. I'm going to go get in that and just start some shit. You're right. Somebody has to be really angry over that.
To a certain degree, I think it's ignorance, though. Because honestly, if you think about it, look, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but you have to have common sense in this life in order to get by, in order to really have a good life and you know, get a takeaway from this life. You have to have common sense. And some people just don't have common sense. They don't realize, okay, there's a whole bunch of different media outlets telling you different stories. You know, it's obvious that there is bias on both sides of the spectrum, you know, so what you have to do with your common sense is find the happy medium, find the thing that makes the most sense. Go, okay, this is a little bit over the top and this is a little bit over the top. Let's find a balance here and figure out what's really going on instead of just yelling fake news. And now all of a sudden it's a free for all because everybody goes, well, there's no reason to have any limitations in what we do here because we don't know what's true or what's fact and what's fantasy. We have no idea. Yeah. So, you know, how do you govern your passions? How do you govern your morals? You know what I mean? When you don't know what's fact or fiction. Yeah. How do you do that? You know, if you're one of those people that's standing in the line at Stater Brothers looking at the magazine and they're talking about the Bat Boy that they found and you believe that that's true.
Yeah.
Why you got to be Bat Boy into this, man? He didn't do nothing to you. Come on.
He's been around for a long time, bro. Me and him are homies. We go way back.
And I think it's safe to say he's Batman.
Listen to Bob Marley together. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, and the bad part too is you can't just dismiss those people either. You know, like you really need to get a hold of them and go, okay, wait, I understand you're mad, but you got to clearly tell me why. You know, and there's so many people who are just angry, and having that many with everything that's going on is just, it's a recipe for disaster. Because with the news, if we know that the news is mainly about ratings, they'll tell you what's going on, but they want you to watch. So we know they're not giving you the full story. We know the government isn't getting us a full story. So what is there truly to be mad at? We don't know everything. So that's like getting angry at half a story. You know, I equated it to my mom one time. I said, honestly, you should get more angry about arguing about comic books. You have more answers in those. You know, we're not told everything with politics and with what's going on. Yeah. All we're told is on one channel, Trump is terrible. On the other channel, Trump is going to save the world. Okay, more than likely it's somewhere in the middle of that. I don't think it's either one of those. But again, we're not told everything he did. We're not told everything he's not doing. And he's not the end all be all, but we're told he is. So what? I feel really uncomfortable getting angry at one specific thing when there isn't just one specific thing to get angry at. And even
sure,
then,
it is not. However, I will argue that you have to be responsible as the president of the United States.
Of course. I wasn't even referring to that bullshit. I was
that
just
is the one area where that I come across on the other side of it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, act your age, not your shoe size. Okay, you're the president of the United fucking States, dude. That's all I got to say about that. That's it. Other than that, I got no beefs. I got no problems. I got no personal issues. 100%. I got no stake in this claim. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. This is what we're talking about. They're watching us. It's not just the United States. The world is watching us. Yeah. We're under the microscope. You know what I mean? We need to set the proper tone. We need to show people, you know, this isn't, we're not going to become this chaotic, you know, it's just ridiculous. It's just what's happening right now is leaning way into chaos, way too much for my personal comfort. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it starts to become threatening, don't you think? When you have to worry about whether or not your life is going to be in danger if you go to the supermarket, you know what I mean? And some radicals are like getting crazy on either side of this, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, absolutely. I mean,
no
you know, I have California plates, and I'm not going to lie, there's a part of me that's like, am I going to be safe next time I go back to Texas if I have California plates? Like, there's radicals in Texas. I mean, I know they think very little of people from California, a lot of the more conservative people. Yeah. You know, the thought has crossed my mind where I'm like, well, there is that contingent. But, you know, at the same time, like, I don't like to live my life in fear. I don't like to live my life in fear of things that have not happened. I mean, it's good to be aware and alert, of course. But, you know, again, when it comes back, you know, I think it comes back to what you personally can affect in a day and what you personally can affect in your own environment. You know, having conversations like this, I think, are really important. Because it gets people thinking, and maybe it gets more people talking and more people thinking and being like, well, what can we do? And how can we influence things, and how can we make things better? Yeah. You know, in our own ways, in our own little spheres, you know, because, you know, we have no control over the media. We have no control over what the president is going to do or not do or say or not say, but we do have control over ourselves. That part gives me comfort, like knowing like I can go out and I can meet somebody that might have a really different viewpoint, and I can treat them with respect. Right. And I can put out a fire right then and there. You know, and just on a small level, like be like, hey, you know, maybe we can both be examples for each other of people that have different viewpoints, but can have a civil conversation and be respectful.
Absolutely. Right. I think that's important, to respect each other. You know what I mean? That's where it starts. Yeah. You know, if you show up and you're disrespectful to people right off the bat, that's what they're going to do to you. They're going to treat you the same way you treat them. So, you know, the whole do unto others rule works with any religion, for sure. Really, any kind of philosophy. So I believe that. So that good. I want to get away from this topic, obviously, because it's not the most important thing with what we're talking to you about today. I want to talk to you more about what can you tell people that are getting into it right now, that are coming in, because obviously, you know, this is dark times, but there are young people that are coming into the music scene right now. They're coming into their own with their music. They're writing, they're trying to put together a project or a band. What kind of advice can you give people like that? Because it looks like you're actually leaning towards helping musicians in a big way. I'm kind of getting that vibe. So what can you say to people that are looking to break into it and they don't really know anything about it? You know, I'm sure you had to dive into the business aspect of it. In a big way, right? You weren't ready for that, were you? Because you weren't planning on it, right? Because I think most musicians don't think, oh, I'm not just going to be writing songs and performing them.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to get into how do I get my band out there in a big way?
Mhm.
And that's business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what advice can you give up and coming artists, especially during these times?
Well, first and foremost, just to really be true to yourself. I know it sounds very cliche, but I think in a world where social media is such a huge thing and we're so influenced by so many messages all around, like, you know, and it can be very easy to start being comparative in terms of like, oh, this person has this many followers and, you know, and this many views and whatever. And I think what it comes down to is, are you making art that feels like art that's worthwhile for you? That's the very first and foremost, most important thing. Like, make the art that feels important for you. And I feel like everything else just starts falling into place. I mean, sure. I mean, there's things like, you know, if you're really passionate about whatever it is, whether it's DJing or being a visual artist, you know, in my case, I can speak as a singer, songwriter, instrumentalist. I find a lot of joy in practicing. So I love to practice. I love practicing my piano. I love practicing my voice. I love learning different songs. I love to learn about how to write better. Like, I have a whole bookshelf of books on, like, you know, learning how to hone your craft. That works for me, but I know I have friends who has never dabbled with that at all. They don't practice and they're fantastic. But that's, you know, for me, that feels more authentic to really try to, you know, hone my craft. I think it's just a matter of finding the joy in whatever it is you do, and really finding what feels authentic. So, and then finding people that are, you know, are on the same page. Cause I personally, love being in a band. I've been approached by different people about being a solo artist. And I mean, some people like that sort of thing, but I've always been a band girl. I'm like, I love the team. I love the family. I love collaborating. Like, I just find so much joy in collaboration. I feel like my ideas can be great and all, but it's so much more fun when you have other people with great ideas and you get to play with the throwing the clay on the slab, you know? Yeah.
It's almost like two different separate entities, isn't it? To be a solo artist and to be a person that's in a band, musician that's in a band. It's pretty different universes, in my opinion. Because one is just, you know what I mean? That person is dictating exactly how the project is going to go. And in the other situation, it's a bunch of people, like you said, just throwing the clay on the slab and just making it happen, you know? Everybody has a hand in how it gets formed, and it can be really beautiful. And I agree with you. I'm more of a band person. Definitely. So I'll leave the solo artist thing to the Michael Jacksons and the Princes. So, but yeah, another thing I wanted to talk to you about was, as far as the future, what are you planning to do with Alice right now? What's the next step? I mean, obviously you don't know about touring yet. Or are you planning on a tour? Are you looking forward to a tour, or are you guys talking about it? Because I know a lot of bands right now they're scheduling them, and a lot of times they get rescheduled as it goes, which is understandable with the current state of affairs. But is that what you're doing right now? Is that what you're working on?
We're really focusing on our next releases. So last January, it's so funny. 2020 turned out so differently than what we originally envisioned.
Did something happen? Did I miss something?
So we went to Joshua Tree as a band, and we had this sort of writing retreat. And in 5 days, we wrote 17 songs. And so, and the album is going to be called As Above, So Below. So it's a double album. And we were originally planning on these tours in tandem with the release. And so we're just focusing on the actual music right now. If shows come up, then awesome. You know, we're kind of keeping ourselves open to that possibility. So, you know, there might be some touring, there might be some virtual tours. But we're really, really focusing on the releases. We actually filmed our next music video as well. For one of the songs. So, and then we also did a remix, which I sang on for another project I'm involved with called System Sin. He's putting together a remix album with a bunch of really amazing artists. And so Alice did a remix for that. So that's getting released actually this next month. And yeah, we're just, I guess, focusing on the music right now.
So where can people find out about it? You guys, how can people like take a deep dive into your music,
into our universe?
Yeah.
So it just depends on the platform. On Facebook, it's I Like Alice. On Instagram, it's Alice Music Official. YouTube, you just do a search for AL1CE and you'll see us, and you can subscribe and follow. And then we have a Twitch channel, alice.tv, so AL1CE.tv, and that's where we did all of our virtual tours.
Oh, right.
So. Yeah, and we're gonna have some really special shows coming up. I'm a very community-based artist, so I want to help spotlight some other artists in the next year to really help, showcase them and use our platform to be able to help do that.
Cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let us know too if we can help. We'd love to have them on the show. Anybody that you guys think is worth
Yes,
sharing
absolutely.
with the world, absolutely, we would probably
100%.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do: share Alice with the world. And I still want people to check out Mankind Is Obsolete. Great band. If you haven't checked it out, you're missing out. And I need to take a deeper dive into Alice. I'm interested in seeing the movie that you were telling us about.
Yes.
You said you guys put together a movie, right? Based on all the pieces of the tour that you did. So where can we find that?
So we actually don't have it as like the entire release unless you order it directly from us. But we do have like the actual music videos from the movie on our YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Do you guys have an actual website where people can buy merch and
ILikeAlice.com.
ILikeAlice.com. Okay,
Mhm.
We'll make sure we feature that. I gotta ask you, do you watch a lot of TV, Netflix, or anything like that? Do you have a favorite show right now?
I don't watch a lot, but I will say there's a few series that I've loved. I loved The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. There you go.
Yeah.
I loved
Isn't-
Lovecraft Country. I thought it was really incredible. Yeah, and there's like a few. There's a few that have come out. Tenet. I really love the Inception movies. What was the filmmaker? My mind is totally. I'm squishy.
If you had asked,
It's
I'd have been
okay,
able
it's
to tell
okay.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But yes, I love Mindbender. Movies.
Mindbender movies. What do you
yes.
mean by that?
Movies like I don't know, like
Oh, that just make you think, or
that take you on a journey, like Waking Life. Definitely one of my top movies. Have you ever seen it?
no, who's in that?
So it was a Linklater. It was a Linklater film, and he really asks a lot of like really huge questions about life and reality.
Huh?
And
Is
it's
it like a documentary or something?
no, it's like they use rotoscoping, so it's not really animation. It's
okay.
it's a really cool film though. Highly recommend.
What's it called again?
Waking Life.
Waking Life. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to check that out.
You were thinking
Fountain?
of Christopher Nolan, by the way.
Yes.
I had to look it up. It was driving me crazy. Sorry.
I know. I totally would have been looking it up right after this. I'm like, what is that? But yeah, The Fountain. That's another movie that I really, really love. That's a top film. But more recent ones, Lovecraft Country, like I mentioned. Gosh, trying to think. How about you guys?
We got to get you into some of these Netflix shows, like Cobra Kai.
I'm like you. The last show I really have watched is Mandalorian. I don't watch a lot of I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch all the Star Wars, just not a lot of TV.
Understood.
Mandalorian is like must watch. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I mean, I don't know.
I do want to watch Cobra Kai. I just haven't got to it. I swear I'm going to get to it.
Cobra Kai is just more of a fun thing. You know what I mean? And I don't know. The martial arts was kind of a big part of my life. So Karate Kid, you know what I mean? It's like you cannot not watch it. You got to see what Ralph Macchio's up to. He's got the same name as me. Come on, so got to check it out and see what the dude's up to. But it ended up being a really great show. I'm like totally into it now, so it's fun. I think you'll like it if you get a chance to check it out. What do you do now for fun other than write and practice music and talk to your bandmates and people that you're working with? What do you do other than that? Do you do anything for fun?
I love to hike. I love hiking. So that's the sort of get me outside, be in nature. I try to find trails that aren't, really heavily trafficked. I love to read. Yeah. And I've been getting into drawing too. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I used to say that I'm like, I'm not a drawer, but I'm like, it's just something I like to do for fun. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, sometimes a hobby turns into a lot more than a hobby, though. Because I never thought I'd be as passionate about music as I am. When I was a kid, I was like dabbling in it, but
we lost you, bro.
It grabs you and it sinks its teeth in you. I was just saying, music grabs you, it sinks its teeth into you, and it doesn't let you go.
Facts.
But that could be the case with anything. You know what I mean? So my brother-in-law is an artist, and he's fantastic. You know what I mean? So I look at his stuff and I go, man, I could never do that. But I'm sure he's thinking the same about the stuff that I do. You know what I mean? So,
Totally.
Unless he's totally cocky and thinks, I could do way better than him.
Actually, Tash, one last thing. I'm actually curious. This is going to go back to music real quick. You said you were singing in tune at 9 months, you said?
Yeah.
Do you have perfect pitch?
No, I have really good relative pitch. And if I've been doing a lot of singing and playing, I can definitely tell more so when things are like in.
Right.
Because I still do, well, not this past year, I've still done stuff with operas and like community operas, community choral groups and things like that. And it really does hone your sense of pitch when you do that, when you stay active with that. It's a forever work in progress as a vocalist, it's like, and I'm a perfectionist, it's one of my traits. But it is one of those things where I kind of feel it in my body when something is in tune.
Right.
So, and when it isn't, it actually literally makes me go like this. I'm like, ooh. No, Gordon, my bassist, has really incredible pitch. So his regular normal gig before COVID was as a jazz guy. Mm-hmm. He played at the Sunset Hotel every night. Mm-hmm. And especially as an upright bass player, like you have incredible pitch and a sense of you got where things
frets
fall.
To figure out where to go.
Exactly. So when we did our early Mankind recordings with him, he was ruthless with me, which was good. It was definitely humbling.
Ruthless. Okay.
He was ruthless. I mean, I'm like, okay, I am clearly not a singer, but I muddled my way through it.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll get somebody to tell you were a little flat right there, bro. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, that pitch bend you did wasn't exactly perfect.
No, I love the politically correct like engineers or recorders when they get done. How was that? It was good, man. It was a little pitchy. It's like, come on, dude. Like, chill with that.
Just a little bit,
just a little bit out of it. Just kind of fell out.
Teeny bit pitchy.
See, I'd much rather somebody tell me my fly's down, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want someone to tell me. I want someone to be like, you're flat, you're sharp, because then I can fix it.
That's what I'm saying. Don't tell it streit. Don't get all sugarcoaty about it.
You're sharp. You're just like, dude, I just got out of bed. Okay. I haven't used my curling iron yet. Yes. It's a little bit flat. This end over here is a little bit sharp. Oh, you're talking about my singing? Now you did it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, we really are our own worst critics. So, truth be told, I think we're harder on ourselves than anybody else is. Unless we totally suck, then everybody's like, yeah.
Maybe. No.
Better do something else, bro. How strong are you? Can you lift heavy equipment? No, I'm just kidding.
I legitimately thought you were asking her that. I was like, wow, that was a turn.
Actually, I have been known to lift my share of amps. Thank you very much. So. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think again, it comes down
you didn't
to.
get the joke.
I think it definitely comes down to, again, just finding your joy, whether it's perfect or not. And, even if you aren't like the world's best singer, just if that's what you want to do, being like, hey, you know what? I really feel this. This is how I want to, I want to express myself. Then that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own style. I'm sure
Mhm.
certain people. I know so many people that can't stand a lot of famous singers' voices, and I'm just like, why? And they're like, wow, because it's to this or to that, and I'm like, well, yeah, but they obviously have something
Yeah.
because people love them. So
Yeah.
anyways, it's been great catching up with you, Tash. It really
Yes.
has been. It's been so long. It would be awesome if we had a show that we could, we could go play a show together at some point. We've never played with Alice. I have my band Ravenscroft. Cody and I are talking about maybe possibly doing something with Serpent in the future.
Allegedly.
Nice.
So you never know. But anyways, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it so much.
Tasha, it was very nice to
Everybody-
meet you.
So nice to meet you.
Everybody, make sure you check out Tash Cox. She's in a project called Alice, and also check out her other projects, Mankind Is Obsolete, and the Alice Project. And what was your website again?
It's ilikealice.com.
ilikealice.com. Check it out, guys. Check them out on YouTube as well. Give them your support.
All right, everybody, go check them out. Have a good life. Have a good time. We'll catch you next time. Thank you, Tosh. Thank you, Ralph. Till next time.
Peace. A lot's happened since yesterday, guys. See you soon.